Hey there, and welcome back. So, before I get started, when I was doing some research for this live, and I wanted to kind of get some data point, and I found an article that was provided by RAND.org, and they shared, and this article was published last year, and they shared how when it comes to school teachers, school educators, and also principals, that there's a decline when it comes to retention and turnover, which as the climate, the environment, all the things, we know that there's a lot of shifts and changes going on. But we know that when it comes to an educator, you got into this field because it was purpose driven. So, welcome to Lead Like a CEO show. I'm your host, Chevy. And today we're talking about school leaders and how you are the only person who can set the tone to have the year that you want. Before I get into that, let me introduce myself. I am Chevy, a 22 plus year Air Force veteran, over 10 plus years of being an educator, facilitator in the classroom, but also traveling. And what I do in MAC Leadership Academy, one aspect is I help support superintendents and principals to run high performing schools without running themselves into the ground. So, as your author, also I'm an author for my book Woman Breed, helping you women to lead through life, career, and business while thriving in every season. And I'm a facilitator, like I mentioned, author, operation consultant, and executive leadership advisor. So come on in and drop in the chat what you do and also where you are joining me from today on this beautiful Thursday. And we are here Thursday because yesterday was a celebration, my daughter's birthday. So I wanted to be present for that. So I adjusted my time and how I show, but I'm still showing up. So I'm going to be sharing some things because as an educator, I know from lived experience the challenges that we experience, the wins, also the burnout. Because I've dealt it with teaching, through anxiety and still having to show up for my students, for the organization, but also for my family as well, and how that impacted me. So I am sharing how you, as you transition into this new school year, because as you know, if you're in the South, it's beginning to get into the school year as of next month, and then up north, East Coast, then you're going to be more likely September timeframe. And as an educator, as a school leader, I want you to drop in the chat as well to what is maybe the thing that you're anticipating as you step fully into this school year. And the first thing that I want to share when it comes to really setting the tone, and I really mean it doesn't, I don't care who's around, who is bringing up things, the superintendent, the leaders, it comes back to you as the individual. And that means you have to set yourself up to have the best year possible. And what does that look like for you? I mean, that could be a lot of different things. And one thing I will say when it comes to a school leader, yes, you're prepping for your classroom. Yes, you're prepping to welcome your educators. Maybe your admin, your coaching, you're doing all the prepping that's related to the school itself. But you have to see yourself in that role, whatever that role is for you. If you're part of the school and you have a specific role, I want you to see yourself in that role. Because sometimes we may just step into the role just because it's the role and the position. But I want you to see yourself in that role today, mid-year, and end of year. Because when I became an instructor supervisor, and that is a title on active duty if you are part of a training school where you're training military airmen to understand their career fields, understand what it entails to graduate. You then become the instructor supervisor, meaning that you're overseeing other instructors to make sure that they are in compliance, making sure that they are able to deliver classroom instructions, making sure that they schedule grades and all the things are inputted into the database, into the system. And I had to own that role as an instructor supervisor, first time doing it, and also the opportunity to travel to other locations throughout the United States, but also internationally as well to But I had to own that role as an IS supervisor. So you have to make sure whatever role that you are sitting in for this school year and beyond, that you are owning that role. Okay. And what owning that role is like, really trusting yourself and believing in yourself, like you are able to deliver effective classroom instructions. You are able to effectively lead as a superintendent. You are able to effectively lead as the principals or assistant principal. Like you truly have to own the role, not just the position. Okay. Because there are going to be a lot of things happening in this school year that is going to be out of your control. But you have to continue to show up. And that is you looking at how do you see yourself as you step into this 2026 school year, because you get to set the tone. Nobody else. Nobody else. Okay. Because sometimes we tend to blame the superintendent or the principal. No, let's take self ownership as you step into this school year. Another aspect of you making sure that you set the tone for your school year, for your successful school year, is preparation. I kind of hit on this a little bit. Okay. And when I say preparation, it's not just preparations of making sure you're set up for school. And I think too often as educators, we are focused on making sure as we get back into the school mode that the classroom is good. Our curriculum, is prepared. Our lesson plans, is ready to go. We're taking notes. We're getting our supplies and all the things. But the thing, which is great, and that is what we want to do as educators. That is what we do as educators, quality educators, okay? Because not everybody shows up the right way. But that preparation aspect also relates to you personally. Okay, that applies to you personally. And what I mean by that is really looking at how you are preparing yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically as you step into this school year, step into that bill, actually before and during and after. Okay, so we do have a LinkedIn user said, "Good morning, best on your new endeavor. Thank you." Drop in the chat your name. I will love to address you by your name. So thank you for joining us here. And also we have Rochelle. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining live. Yeah, so you have to look at your mindset. What is the belief system that you are telling yourself as you prepare to go back into this classroom? Are you saying like, hey, I'm going to be an amazing educator? I'm going to be the person where I overcome challenges and not allow those challenges to define and stop me from showing up fully as an educator in the classroom, as a superintendent, as the principal, because we know you will encounter challenges. You will. But you have to look at how you're preparing yourself mentally and your belief system. Also emotional. And when I say emotional, I'm referring to your emotional regulations, because you will get challenged. You will have disagreements with other educators, with the superintendent, with the principal. The leaders will say certain things that you don't like. Okay. But are you going to be the one who takes it in offense and respond in a different way, in a unhealthy way or defensive way? Or are you going to regulate how you respond? Because that affects how you show up and continue the school year. Because I don't want you to get to the point because something was said, now you have checked out. Now you're on defense mode because you're like, every time you see this specific person, your heart rate increases, your anxiety level goes up, because that person, every time you see that person, there's a thing that gets you to respond. I don't want to say the T word, but gets you to respond. So really look at your emotional aspect so that you can pour into you and be able to regulate your emotion. And another aspect where you want to make sure that you are preparing yourself is also physical. And that means movement, because you're in the classroom, you're on your feet. Okay. But again, you have to make sure you have the physical strength to continue to live outside of the classroom. And this is just part of you setting the tone, because what happens when we get bogged down with life and work? We start to let go of certain things. And that thing usually is how we take care of our bodies, in the sense of movement, in the sense of what we're feeding our bodies, in the sense of what we are thinking. So really look at, when it comes to preparation, is not only preparing to make sure that you have a great classroom, a great school, but you are preparing yourself with the right mindset, the emotional regulations, and the physical movement that is needed. Rochelle said, absolutely, emotional maturity is important to develop. Yes, because it impacts not only the individual, the educators, but it also impacts the quality of life that they have at home, but also how they show up for the students and the school as a whole. Because we focus on the whole person concept here, just like the Air Force. So thank you for that, Rochelle. And the last thing that I want to share, to make sure that you are, as a school leader, that you set the tone. This is your leader toolbox. I'm going to say this again. This is your leader toolbox. And what I mean by this, because we talked about pretty much two things so far: how you see yourself as a leader, whether it's the classroom, the superintendent role, the assistant principal role, or the principal role, but also we talked about the preparation for you, not just the school. And the last aspect is your leader toolbox. And there can be a lot of things in this toolbox, but we want to make sure that there are key essential things that are in there for you, for no one else but for you. And what that looks like, I'm going to list just 3 things for now. One thing I will say, do you have a mentor? And when I say mentor, I mean a quality mentor, not someone you just identify by name, but someone you identify by name, but you can also communicate with that person. You can receive constructive but also honest feedback from that person. You can go to that person for guidance when needed, when you feel like your tank is over capacity and you need someone to just kind of release some of that. You have a mentor that you can go to. And if you have one, drop mentor in the chat. And if you don't have one, start thinking, as you step fully into this new school year, who in your circle that you can identify that will be that person to also hold you accountable, to make sure that you're not only setting the tone for being in the school environment, but you're also setting that tone for you, for your quality of life as well. All right, we have a comment from Rochelle. She said, I worked every day to push through challenges in life, helps me feel better and gives me confidence to do more. Exactly. The more you move, and honestly, with movement and neuroscience, it really impacts your brain function to make better decisions, especially if you're in a classroom, when you're dealing with kids, and you're leading a school, you're overseeing hundreds of students, but also staff members. So exercise and movement is beneficial for you overall. And this is based on neuroscience. So, and these are things that I share with my clients, but also in my training when it comes to my Lead Well program, which is our 6-week program as well. Thank you for sharing that, Rochelle. Mentor, yes. And I have mentor as well too. And yes, Jennifer, welcome. She says she has 3. Yes. Like, it is so needed. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for joining, Jennifer. And so we talked about mentor, having that be part of your leader box, your leader toolbox. And when it comes to mentor in the military, in the Air Force, we always had a mentor, okay, at every level. Usually someone has a mentor. We have Chanela joining from New Jersey. Thank you for joining live. So the next thing that you want to have in your leader toolbox is your communication strategy. Like, how are you willing to communicate when things are challenging, when things are stressful? Because again, it goes back to that emotional regulation. You want to make sure that when things are challenging, as you're leading in the classroom, you're leading the school, that you are able to regulate how you communicate. Because We don't want you spazzing out. Okay. We don't want you yelling at the students. We don't want you yelling at your peers. We don't want you yelling at the superintendent or the principal and vice versa. Like, you want to be able to stay grounded and regulate and hold individuals accountable, of course, and speak what you need to say, but is how you do it, is how you deliver it is going to be key. So make sure that you have a clear communication strategy for yourself of how you want to show up during the school year, in and outside of school, because that is going to help you to set the tone of how you experience this school year, not only in the beginning, not before, not during, but also after as well too. And the last thing that I want to share when it comes to your leader toolbox is that stress management piece. From someone, speaking of myself, who have served 22 years in the military, have operated and led hundreds of people, different work sections in high stress environments, deploy environment. I understand, and I've burnt out. I was hospitalized, anxiety, vertigo, like. So I am not just speaking from just to be speaking. I am speaking from lived experience, but I know the importance and what I had to do to start making sure that I manage my stress. And part of that was movement. Part of that was self-talk. And these are all the things that I have put into my program, Lead Well, which is my 6-week program. But the stress management piece, which again, a lot of educators are not thinking about having a stress management plan, because you just go in and you start teaching, you start leading, you start running the school, but you have to look at what plan do you have in place, because you have a plan for the school. You have a plan for the school of what you expect. You have a plan for the classroom. You have a plan for how the lesson should be delivered. Like, there's a plan for almost everything in that school, but you need to have your own stress management plan as you step fully into this new school year and beyond. Okay. So I want, for everyone who is here live, I want you to drop in the chat, what is the thing that you do, one thing that you do to manage your stress, because stress will be here. Okay. It is the management of it. It is the management of it that's going to help you to be successful. Yeah. So drop in the chat, what is your one stress management? For me, running is my thing. When I am stressed from work, when I'm stressed from life, parenting, co-parenting with someone who is not trying to co-parent in a healthy way, I go to movement, and running is my number one go-to stress management tool. And it works. It works because I feel when I'm running, I'm releasing all of that. And sometimes tears are flowing down. Okay. And I'm not ashamed to share that, because crying releases those stress hormones. And I love bringing this into what I do, whether it's I'm coaching a client, consulting a client, or training as well. So that is one thing. So today, it's really about you as the educator, as a school leader, as a classroom instructor. What are you doing to make sure that the tone that you set before, during, and after is consistent with making sure that you are also taking care of yourself as you're taking care of your students, as you are taking care of your school? And we have a comment by Rochelle. She said, definitely have to be proactive. Working out is my stress management tool. Yes. And I know you incorporate movement daily. And I love it. And as someone, if you are not in that rhythm yet, do understand that you can get started with 5 minutes. And that could be something from a simple walk. That could be something from getting on a bike. That could be something like, these are simple and effective tools that you can utilize daily. You can utilize it a couple of times a week. Like, you get to choose and set the tone that you want as you step fully into the school year. Jennifer said, I like to make, Tom Set aside from the kids. Oh, time. I would like to make time set aside from the kids and work that is literally dedicated to doing nothing. Maybe that means reading a book, maybe meditation, but just quiet time. Yes. So I love that you are able to set aside time from the kids. Keyword, from the kids. And this is something that I do as well, Jennifer. And I think it is so important. Yeah, I figure it was time. A typo, it happens to me as well too. Especially when we're in social live and we're trying to comment and add value. But no, definitely, Jennifer, what you said is so, especially as moms who are single parenting, who are working, whether you're in the school system or somewhere else, like we need time away from the kids. And like you said, it's literally making time for you, giving yourself that space to breathe, to meditate, and just be with yourself. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. We have a Facebook user said dancing. Oh, Janice, hey, thank you for joining live. And yes, dancing is, girl, I love to dance. It is a stress reliever. Yes, love it, love it. And thank you for joining live. Yes. So I want to thank everyone for joining live. And today was really speaking to the school leaders who are stepping fully into work mode in the coming weeks and really allowing yourself to set the tone. That means looking at yourself and owning the role that you're stepping into, not just the position, but owning the role. And also preparing yourself outside of school, making sure that you are taking care of you with your mindset, your emotional regulations, but also your physical movement as well. And then having your leader toolbox to make sure that you have that mentor, okay, that quality mentor, not just anyone, quality mentor, your communication strategies, but also your stress management. And we had, Jennifer talked about quality time, by herself. Janice talked about dancing. And we also have Rochelle, where she talked about movement every single day. Okay. So there's so many things that you can do as a school leader to set that tone now. Don't wait until school starts. Don't wait until in the middle or the end, because by the end, you're going to be burnt out, exhausted, tired, and ready to quit. And you don't want to quit. You want to actually continue because you love what you do, but you get tired. And that is understandable. That is very understandable. Like I said, I spent over a decade in the classroom facilitating, instructor, supervisor, instructor, supporting 26 students, and sometimes back to back. Like I graduate one class and then I'm preparing while I'm teaching one class. As soon as they've done graduating, guess what? My classroom is now reset up to welcome the next class the next day. And it's just a cycle, and you're still dealing with everyday work tasks plus family life. I get it. So what I want to do, I want to invite you. I created my Facebook group. This is for school leaders. You can find it on Facebook, and I can drop it here. And if you would like for me to send it to your DM, you can just let me know. But it's called School Leaders Who Lead Well. School Leaders Who Lead Well. So definitely, I will drop it here. You can join. And what I'm doing, I am going to be hosting a free live experience in that group. And we are going deeper into that stress management so that you can step fully into how you want to show up throughout this school year. Again, this will be in my Facebook group, School Leaders Who Leads Well. It will be August the 18th. I believe that's the date I selected, but I'll double check because, with kids, parenting, I have to make sure it's in alignment. So if that is something that you would like to be a part of, I'm going to drop the link here for you to join, or you can just reach out to me directly and I can send that to you. And again, this is for school leaders, whether you're an educator in the classroom, you're a principal, superintendent, assistant principals, you may be an admin person and you like, hey, I support coaches, as when you're coaching the school teachers, and you want to be part of something where it's not just another group where we're just showing up, but we're really making impact. We are creating change. We're about action. And if that is for you, then I want to invite you to join my Facebook group. And also, again, this training will be delivered in that group. So I want to thank Jennifer for being here live. I want to thank Rochelle. I want to thank Janice. And also I want to thank Chanela for joining live. Thank you, ladies, for being here. And if this live resonated with you and you know an educator who is in the space who can utilize what I've shared today, but also join the Facebook group, I would love for you to invite them to send this replay to them, but also share the link with them of the Facebook group. And I want to let y'all know if you would like to order a copy of my book, Woman Breed, which is really focused on leading through life, career, and business while thriving every season. This book is based on my lived experience from being in the military, going through the wars, vertigo, anxiety, all things. And it comes with a workbook as well. Okay, so you get to implement and create the change that you want based on the reflective questions that are in here. You can get this from my website, Woman Breed. And this is part of what I also deliver in my 6-week experience, Lead Well. But I want to thank you all for joining. And as always, thank you for joining me on the Lead Like a CEO show. I'm your host, Chevy. And after 22 plus years of Air Force services, I help superintendents and principals like yourself to lead high-performance schools without running themselves into the ground. And I am your author, facilitator, executive leadership, and operational consultant here to support you, to help you make the impact that you know you're here to make. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Lead Like the CEO show, and have an amazing Thursday as always. See y'all next week.